In an interstellar society where prime breeding age is calculated by cold algorithms, the Vulpine bride is labeled expired inventory. The lonely human chooses her instantly, not out of lust, but because humans don't optimize love. Double meaning play. She was declared past her prime, but humans prefer aged wine. Her species valued cycles, humans valued experience. HFY angle. Aliens are baffled that humans reject genetic perfection in favor of emotional compatibility. The dock is a marriage exchange port. The Vulpine bride believes she's being picked up for inspection. The human thinks she just needs a ride home. They both say yes for very different reasons. Double meaning play. He thought he was offering a warm meal and shelter. She thought he was offering a full lifetime package. Docked ships, docked expectations. In Vulpine culture, too old means she has survived wars, plagues, and political purges, making her dangerous to powerful males. Humans, however, here experienced. Double meaning play. She wasn't worn out, she was well tested. Too old to obey. Too sharp to control. The man doesn't choose her romantically at first, he's just tired of being alone. He offers companionship, shared meals, and a quiet life. To Vulpines, this sounds shockingly intimate. Double meaning play. He promised a shared bed, because housing is limited. She nearly fainted. He said he wanted someone to grow old with. She heard, exclusive lifelong bonding. See. By choosing a bride deemed too old, the human accidentally commits a political act. Vulpine elders panic. The bride holds ancient lineage rights that only activate if chosen freely. Double meaning play. She was abandoned at the dock because she carried too much weight. Political weight, heritage, legacy. He didn't choose her body, he chose her name. Hook the audience immediately. Establish the dock as a marriage exchange port. Set up the core misunderstanding. Introduce flawed, relatable characters. Start the comedy through language confusion and implication. Key story beats. The dock is described as busy, transactional, and unromantic, cargo cranes beside bridal platforms. Human protagonist arrives for a transport job / maintenance errand, not romance. Vulpine bride sits alone, labeled delayed / unclaimed / past preferred cycle. Her internal belief. She's awaiting final and escalate misunderstanding into commitment. Build chemistry through awkward kindness. Lean into adult comedy without explicit content. Deepen emotional stakes. Key story beats. The human offers her a ride home. She interprets this as formal acceptance. He comments on her being experience, her calm demeanor, her not needing approval. Each compliment lands like a marriage vow in her culture. You don't need to prove anything to me. I'm fine taking things slow. We'll figure out what works for both of us. She responds with ceremonial gratitude, while he thinks she's just polite. Alien reactions. Dock officials panic. Marriage registry auto-activates due to human verbal consent patterns. The human unknowingly triggers binding clauses by signing transport forms. Grounded realism. Human motivations are simple: companionship, decency, empathy. No savior complex, just exhaustion with being alone. Arrival at a neutral station or human habitat. They learn, from horrified officials, that they are legally married. The phrase "too old" is unpacked. She survived multiple bonding cycles. She outlived powerful rivals. She's politically inconvenient. Human reaction. So, she knows who she is? Aliens assume the human chose her for taboo reasons. He keeps emphasizing. She's easy to talk to. She knows what she wants. She doesn't play games. The human is offered an annulment. He hesitates, not because of legality, but because of connection. Honest conversation between them. She admits she expected obligation. He admits he expected nothing, and got companionship. Time. The placard above her position glowed amber instead of green. Not available. Not processing. Just pending. Smaller text scrolled beneath it in an alien script, but even without understanding the language, the universal symbol for delay was hard to miss. She was Vulpine. Tall, for a muted silver brown instead of the glossy reds and golds shown in promotional feeds. Her ears were nicked, not damaged, just worn, as if they'd been folded the wrong way too many times and stopped caring. She wore a ceremonial wrap that had been adjusted and readjusted, the fabric pulled tighter than necessary, as if she were trying to take up less space. He slowed, then stopped. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, in a quiet, unadvertised way, but because she looked like someone who'd been forgotten while everyone else kept moving. "You waiting on someone?" he asked, keeping his tone casual. Her ears flicked sharply. She looked up as if summoned, eyes widening just a fraction too late to hide it. Then she stood immediately, too fast, smoothing her wrap with hands that had practiced the motion many times. "Yes," she said. Then, after a breath, corrected herself. "I mean, possibly. If selected." That was odd. He glanced up at the placard again. Amber. Unclaimed. That usually meant mistransfer, not indecision. Right. Well, you look pretty claimed to me, he said, gesturing vaguely. Name on the list somewhere? Her tail tightened. My designation has been displayed. It was deemed non-priority. There it was. Bureaucracy. He'd seen that word break tougher beings than her. So you got bumped, he said. Happens all the time. Ports overbook. People get picky. Her ears tilted forward. Picky? Yeah. Preferences. Timing. That sort of thing. He shrugged. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. The words landed harder than he expected. She froze, eyes searching his face as if looking for a clause he hadn't spoken aloud. I have exceeded optimal parameters, she said carefully. It is recorded. He blinked. Optimal for what? She hesitated. Bonding. Ah. That explained the platform. He shifted his weight, suddenly aware he'd wandered into something personal without meaning to. Look, if you're waiting on, a partner, I don't want to get in the way. I just thought you might need a lift. Her gaze dropped to the ground. A lift? Yeah. Ride. Transport. I've got an empty seat and time. If you miss your connection, I can get you wherever you're headed next. Her breath caught. Not dramatically. Just enough. You would take me? She asked. He smiled faintly. That's usually how rides work. Silence stretched between them, filled by the hiss of docking clamps and the distant announcement of successful unions being finalized on nearby platforms. Each announcement came with polite applause from station staff. Each one made her shoulders draw in a little tighter. I must inform you, she said at last, voice carefully neutral, that I am no longer considered first cycle material. He almost laughed, not at her, but at the phrasing. First cycle? I'm not exactly fresh out of the box myself. Her eyes flicked up. You are untroubled by that? By what? Age? He gave a short snort. Trust me, being brand new is overrated. Means you haven't learned anything yet. That earned him a look of genuine confusion. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Your species does not prioritize peak viability? We prioritize getting along, he said. And not being miserable. That answer seemed to short-circuit something. Her tail loosened, just slightly. I should disclose, she continued, that my previous assessments concluded I may be challenging. He considered her for a moment. The careful posture. The controlled speech. The way she waited, not demanded. I've been called worse. A soft, startled sound escaped her before she could stop it. Not quite laughter. Not quite disbelief. You are aware, she said slowly, that by approaching me here, you are signaling intent? He looked around. Cranes. Containers. A pair of officials arguing over a manifest. Intent to help someone get unstuck, yeah? Her ears flushed a deeper shade beneath the fur. The signal may be interpreted more broadly. Well, he said, glancing at the placard again. They should really label these things better. As if summoned by the words, a dock attendant glanced their way, eyes widening. The attendant tapped at a wrist console. The amber light above the platform flickered. The Vulpine stiffened. Sir, if you did not mean to initiate. Hey, he said gently, holding up a hand. I'm not initiating anything I don't understand. I'm just offering a ride. No pressure. No expectations. The light steadied, still amber, but now pulsing. She swallowed. In my culture, an offer without expectation is rare. In mine, he replied. It's just called being decent. Another pause. Then, quietly, if I accept, will you reconsider once you have inspected me more closely? He met her eyes, really met them. I'm not here to inspect anything, he said. You don't need fixing. You just look like you shouldn't be sitting alone on a dock. Her shoulders sagged, the tension draining out of her in a way that told him she'd been holding it for a long time. Then, she said, voice steadier now, I accept your ride. Great, he said, turning toward the exit lane. My ship's this way. It's nothing fancy, but it's warm, and the seat adjusts. She followed, each step measured, as if crossing an invisible threshold. Behind them, the dock attendant stared at the console as a new status quietly appeared next to her designation. Provisionally claimed. And somewhere deep in the station's registry system, a process began, triggered not by ritual or optimization, but by one lonely human who thought giving someone a lift was just common sense. The ship was smaller than most transport craft, but clean, warm, and clearly lived in. The kind of place that had been rearranged by habit rather than design. A jacket draped over the back of the pilot's chair. A half-empty cup secured in a magnetic holder. A faint hum that came from systems that had been tuned by hand instead of replaced. She paused just inside, ears tilting as she took it in. This is your private vessel, she said. Yeah. Home away from whatever port I'm in, he replied, setting his bag down. Seat's over there. It leans back if you pull the lever too hard. Her eyes lingered on the chair. It reclines? Sometimes too much, he said. Don't let it surprise you. That made her still, tail flicking once. You are very casual about positioning. Trust me, he said. My chair and I have an understanding. It misbehaves. I forgive it. She sat carefully, as if the chair itself might take offense. When it shifted under her weight, she froze, gripping the armrests. Easy, he said. It's just adjusting. Adjusting, she repeated, clearly attaching more meaning to the word than he intended. He powered up the controls, glancing over. Long trip ahead of you? To my assigned relocation, she said. Or whatever remains of it. That doesn't sound great. It is efficient. That's usually not the same thing. A corner of her mouth twitched. Your species values inefficiency? We value comfort. And not being treated like a number. Her ears angled toward him. That is dangerously indulgent. Yeah, he said dryly. That's humans. Living on the edge with things like choice. The ship disengaged with a soft vibration. As they lifted from the dock, she braced, then relaxed when nothing dramatic happened. You have done this often, she said. Flying? Sure. Being decent? Trying to, he replied. She hesitated. In my culture, offering personal transport implies responsibility. For getting you where you're going, he said. For ensuring satisfaction, she added. He blinked. Satisfaction with the ride? With the arrangement, she said carefully. He frowned. I'm not running a service like that. Her ears flattened for just a second, then lifted again. Of course. Forgive me. Terminology differences. Yeah, he said. Happens a lot. They fell into a brief silence, broken only by the steady hum of the engines. You mentioned you were considered non-priority, he said. That doesn't mean you're done. Just means the system's bad at reading people. It means I have exceeded preferred bonding age, she said. I am categorized as high maintenance and low yield. He made a face. That's a horrible way to describe a person. It is accurate for livestock, she said softly. He winced. You're not livestock. In the exchange system, she replied. The distinction is flexible. That sat heavy in the air. He cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I don't think too old is a thing. Just means you know what you want. Her gaze sharpened. You find that appealing? I find it refreshing, he said. No guessing games. No pretending. Her tail curled slowly, an unconscious movement. In my species, experience is seen as intimidating. Good, he said. People should be intimidated by competence. That earned him a long look. Then, quietly, You are unusual. Been told. She shifted in her seat. You are aware that by continuing this arrangement you are establishing expectations. For the duration of the trip, sure, he said. Snacks, maybe? Conversation. That kind of thing. Her ears flushed again. Your definitions are dangerously minimal. I like to keep things simple. She studied him, as if trying to decide whether he was being evasive or sincere. You have not asked for compensation, she said. Didn't think to. In my culture, that implies long-term intent. He laughed once, surprised. I just didn't want you stranded. That is how it begins, she said softly. How what begins? Attachment, she replied. That word hung between them. He didn't dodge it. Look, I'm not great at big plans. I'm good at showing up. If that counts for something, fine. If not, also fine. Her voice lowered. Showing up is not considered a small thing where I come from. He glanced at her. She wasn't looking at him now, eyes fixed on the stars sliding past. You said you were challenging, he said. Why? Because I ask questions, she replied. Because I do not accept initial evaluations. Because I survived bonds that others did not. That doesn't sound like a flaw. It is viewed as wear. Sounds more like resilience. Her breathing slowed. Humans romanticize damage. We call it experience, he said. Makes you better at choosing. She was quiet for a long moment. You are choosing very easily, she said at last. I'm choosing to be kind, he replied. That's not the same thing as choosing forever. In my culture, she said, kindness without withdrawal is interpreted as commitment. He rubbed the back of his neck. Your culture needs better disclaimers. A small, real laugh escaped her this time. It surprised both of them. I was prepared for inspection, she said. For evaluation. For polite rejection. Instead, you got a seat that reclines too far and a pilot who forgets to charge for rides, he said. That is not what I trained for. Life rarely is. She turned to face him fully. If I misunderstand your intentions, I will bear great shame. He met her gaze. If you think I'm promising something I'm not, that's on me to clear up. I'm not here to use you. I'm here to help you get somewhere better than a dock bench. Her ears lowered slightly, a gesture that read as vulnerable even to him. And if, she said carefully, somewhere better becomes, with you? He didn't answer right away. I don't know where I'll be in a month, he said honestly. But I know I won't leave someone worse off than I found them. She considered that. In my society, she said, that promise alone would be enough to trigger formal bonding. Then your society would lose its mind over human roommates. Her lips twitched. You share space with those you are not bonded to? Yeah. Sometimes with people we barely like. That is horrifying. See? Cultural exchange already paying off. The ship continued its steady course. You may rescind this offer at any time, she said. So can you, he replied. That is fair. She leaned back slightly, testing the chair again. This time, she didn't flinch when it adjusted. You make it difficult to maintain proper emotional distance, she said. Sorry, he said. I've been told I'm bad at that. Bad? She echoed. Or good in the wrong system. He smiled at that. Somewhere in the background, systems updated quietly. Transit logs. Passenger records. Relocation authorizations. And buried among them, a subtle flag remained active, waiting for confirmation that neither of them realized they were slowly, accidentally providing. They didn't realize anything was wrong until the ship requested docking clearance and got silence instead of the usual automated approval. He frowned at the console, tapping the screen once, then again. That's odd, he muttered. Her ears twitched. What is? Traffic control usually answers faster than this. Especially for small craft. As if embarrassed by the delay, the console chimed. A text-only message appeared, dense and overly formal. Provisional union detected. Status review required. Dock at Base 7. He stared at it. Union? Her posture changed instantly. Spine straight. Tail wrapped tight. It has been registered. What has? She swallowed. Our association. My transport job? Your selection, she said carefully. He let out a slow breath. Okay. Something's getting wires crossed. That is unlikely, she said. The registry systems are extremely thorough. That's what worries me. They docked under supervision that felt a little too attentive. Two officials waited as the ramp lowered, both of them Vulpine, both wearing expressions that hovered between scandalized and fascinated. One cleared his throat. You are the human claimant? I'm the driver, he corrected. The official glanced at the other, then back. You initiated pickup of a delayed bride. I offered a ride. The second official's ears flattened. Without review? I don't review people, he said. I talk to them. A murmur rippled through the nearby staff. The first official turned to her. You accepted? She nodded once. I did. You are aware this constitutes intentional pairing? She hesitated, then said quietly. I believed myself chosen. All eyes shifted to him. He rubbed his face. Look, if there's been a mistake, let's just undo it. I didn't mean to sign anything permanent. The official stiffened. Undo? Yes, he said. Cancel. Reverse. Whatever the word is. There was a long pause. Human, the first official said slowly. You invoke 3 binding indicators. Verbal affirmation. Sustained proximity. And continued support without compensation. That's just being polite. In our culture, the official replied. That is commitment. The second official tapped at a console. The bond is registered as valid, though unconsummated. He nearly choked. On what? She looked away, ears burning beneath her fur. Okay, he said quickly. Let's stop right there. Nothing has happened. That is why this is under review, the official said. An annulment is possible. Her head snapped up. It is? She asked. Yes, the official said. If the human withdraws. The room felt suddenly smaller. He looked at her. Really looked. Not at the label hanging over her head, not at the system that had left her on a bench, but at the way her hands were clasped together, knuckles tight, as if bracing for impact. You want out? He asked her quietly. She hesitated. If you feel coerced, I would accept dissolution. I'm not coerced, he said. But you did not intend. I didn't intend to hurt you either, he cut in. Or make you feel disposable. Her voice dropped. That outcome is familiar. Something in his chest tightened. The officials exchanged glances. Human, the first said. You should understand what this pairing represents. She is classified as post-optimal. Her previous bonds ended due to incompatibility or attrition. She is considered high risk. He snorted. High risk how? She talks back? The official stiffened. She has survived. Yeah, he said. That's not a flaw. The second official frowned. It is inefficient. There it is, he said. That word again. He turned to her. Is any of this true? The way they're saying it. She lifted her chin. I have outlived 3 bonded partners. I refused reassignment twice. I do not lower my expectations. Sounds exhausting, he said. For them. Her eyes widened. In Vulpine society, the first official said sharply, age beyond peak indicates diminishing value. That's where we differ, he replied. In mine, age usually means you've stopped putting up with nonsense. A ripple of discomfort passed through the onlookers. The second official said, You are aware that choosing her will draw scrutiny. I'm getting that impression. She will not differ easily. Good. She will expect respect. Even better. She will not pretend to be smaller than she is. He smiled faintly. Why would I want that? Silence fell. The first official studied him with something like disbelief. You are not selecting for advantage. No, he said. I'm selecting for compatibility. That is not measurable. Exactly. The official turned to her. Do you wish the bond annulled? She looked at him, searching his face for something solid. I wish, she said slowly, to be chosen with clarity. He nodded. That's fair. He turned back to the officials. Give us a minute. They hesitated, then stepped back. When they were alone, he exhaled. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how deep this went. You may still withdraw, she said. No dishonor would attach to you. What about you? She didn't answer right away. I have carried dishonor for some time. It would not be new. That did it. Hey, he said softer now. I didn't choose you by accident because you were convenient. I chose you because you were there, and because you didn't deserve to be left. That is not how bonds are typically formed. Maybe that's the problem. She studied him. If you proceed, they will assume you desire forbidden qualities. Like what? Autonomy. Experience. Resistance. He shrugged. Guess I've always had a thing for trouble. A small, incredulous laugh escaped her. You are serious? Yeah, he said. I am. She inhaled slowly, then nodded once. Then I accept your choice. Fully. Knowing its implications. They called the officials back. I'm not withdrawing, he said plainly. The first official's ears twitched. You understand this is irreversible without cause. I understand. The second official tapped at the console. Status confirmed. Bond maintained. A murmur rippled through the space. Whispers. Stares. She stood a little taller. As they walked back toward the ship, she said quietly, They will assume you desire me for my age. Let them, he replied. They already assume worse. And if, she added, they believe you seek my experience? He glanced at her. Then they're not wrong. Her tail flicked, startled. I mean, he added quickly, your life experience. Your perspective. She smiled, slow, knowing, and entirely unimpressed by the panic she caused. Humans, she said, are dangerously literal. And you, he replied, are exactly as you are. For the first time since the dock, she believed she wasn't being tolerated or evaluated. She was being chosen. And somewhere in the registry system, the bond status shifted quietly from provisional to affirmed, flagged not as optimal, but as anomalous. Which, in human terms, usually meant interesting. The station quieted after the officials left, the kind of quiet that followed public discomfort rather than resolution. He felt it in the way people looked at them, quick glances, careful distance, curiosity sharpened by judgment. None of it surprised him. He'd lived long enough to know that choosing differently always made noise. You can still change your mind, she said once they were back aboard, voice low, controlled. They will allow it later, if sufficient cause is presented. He shook his head. I don't like exits that require paperwork and excuses. That is not what I meant. I know, he said. I just don't want you thinking I agreed out of confusion. She studied him. Then why? He leaned back against the bulkhead, arms crossed, considering the question as if it deserved the respect of a real answer. Because you didn't ask me to save you. You asked me to be clear. I like that. Her ears angled forward. Clarity is rarely rewarded. Maybe not where you're from, he said. But where I'm from, it's how you avoid screwing things up worse later. She released a slow breath. You are unafraid of consequences. I'm afraid of wasting time, he replied. Different thing. That earned him a long look, assessing, recalibrating. He recognized it now, not evaluation for suitability, but curiosity without a checklist. They will expect you to establish dominance, she said. He blinked. I will absolutely not do that. In my culture, paired males often assert control early. That sounds exhausting. It is, she agreed. He smiled faintly. Good. We'll disappoint them together. Her tail swayed just once. You understand that they will interpret your refusal to command as indulgence. Let them, he said. I've been accused of worse. She hesitated. And if they assume you indulge me, excessively? He raised a brow. Define excessively. Her ears flushed again. They believe humans possess stamina. He laughed, short and genuine. That rumor has been wildly exaggerated. She stared at him, then let out a sound that was unmistakably laughter, quiet, incredulous, free. It lingered, warming the space between them. You are not what I expected, she said. Neither are you, he replied. That's usually a good sign. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, the kind that didn't demand filling. Outside, traffic flowed. Inside, something steadier settled. I should apologize, she said suddenly. For what? For assuming your kindness carried obligation. He shrugged. I should apologize for assuming your situation was temporary. Most assume that, she said. Until it becomes permanent. He looked at her then, really looked. The scars she didn't hide. The confidence that had been mistaken for wear. The calm that came from surviving disappointment without becoming small. I don't see temporary, he said. I see someone who knows who she is. Her voice softened. That is why they consider me dangerous. Yeah, he said. I'm starting to see the appeal. She tilted her head. You are joking. Only a little. They reviewed the registry details together, not as a ritual, but as a practical necessity. Terms. Rights. Mutual withdrawal clauses that made him snort. You can leave at any time, he read. So can I. That is considered radical, she said. It's called consent, he replied. She nodded slowly. Humans build entire relationships on that? We try, he said. We mess it up sometimes. But we keep trying. Her gaze lingered on him. You are aware that others will test this bond. I figured. They will question your motives. Already happening. They will suggest you chose me for novelty. He shrugged. I didn't choose you because you were unusual. I chose you because you were honest. That is not how selection is taught. Then selection needs better teachers. She leaned back, considering. You are comfortable with imbalance. With equality, he corrected. Power's boring. I prefer partnership. Her tail flicked again, slower this time. You speak as if that is attainable. It is, he said. Just not optimized. She smiled at that, the expression easy now. They will never understand you. Good, he replied. Understanding is overrated. Respect's better. A message chimed on the console, formal, sterile. A notification from the registry, bond confirmed. Public status updated. She tensed just a little. Hey, he said. Still okay? Yes, she said. I am simply adjusting to being chosen. Get used to it, he said lightly. I'm stubborn. Her eyes softened. That, I believe? They talked then, not about culture or contracts, but about small things. Food preferences. Sleep habits. The strange human tendency to collect broken items with plans to fix them someday. The Vulpine habit of keeping lists not to optimize life, but to remember it mattered. At one point she said, "You will grow older." He nodded. "That's the idea. And I will continue to be considered old." He met her gaze. "Then we'll be old together. That seems fair." "In my society," she said, "that would be considered tragic." "In mine," he replied, "it's considered winning." She reached out, tentative, stopping just short of touching his hand. "May I?" He turned his palm up. "Always ask." "I like that." She placed her hand in his, warm, steady, real. The bond didn't flare. No lights changed. No systems chimed. But something settled anyway, quieter and stronger than ceremony. "You chose me twice," she said softly. "Once by accident," he admitted. "Once on purpose." Her grip tightened. "The second is the one that matters." He squeezed back. "Agreed." Later, as they prepared to depart, he glanced at the registry summary one last time. Under status, a note had been appended by some unseen bureaucrat. Pairing deviates from optimal parameters. Monitor for instability. He smiled and closed the file. "Ready?" he asked. She stood beside him, no longer waiting, no longer braced. "Yes." They left the station behind, two anomalies moving forward not because it made sense on paper, but because it felt right in practice. And somewhere, a system designed to measure value failed to quantify the simplest human trait of all. Choosing someone, not because they were perfect, young, or efficient, but because leaving them behind was no longer an option. A lonely man stumbles upon a too old Vulpine bride abandoned at the dock, and chooses her at once.